Good evening, viewers. Today marks the anniversary of August 8th, 2021. A sad day indeed. Youth entrepreneurship takes focus tonight. You can run, but you can't hide. Welcome to All Jokes Aside.
Our voices matter, our opinions count. Our ideas can and will make a difference. The United Progressive Party Progressive Youth presents All Jokes Aside, discussing issues and ideas, highlighting problems and putting forward solutions. All jokes aside, there's too much at stake for deafening silence. Let your voices be heard. All jokes aside, with your host, Jonathan Wenner.
Welcome back, everyone, from our short break. I'm your host tonight, Jonathan Wenner. I have next to me two co-hosts from the Progressive Youth. To my left, this is Chelsea Agard. She is the constituency representative of the Progressive Youth for the constituency of St. Philip North. To my right is Brother Jamal Frederick. He is the constituency representative of the Progressive Youth for St. Paul. And they are my co-hosts for tonight. All right, folks, our first segment we're going to talk about. We're going to remember the very sad day of August 8th, 2021, where picketers were tear-gassed in St. John's on Market Street, and even those who were in their houses were affected by this tear gas. So we're going to have an in-depth discussion about this, and we'll just have this talk amongst ourselves as young people. All right, so the first thing we'll talk about, you guys, in your minds, as young people who have educated yourselves, and you watch news and you see what's happening around the world. We all know how democracies normally function. When people have the right to picket, do you believe people should have the right to picket about different circumstances or different topics? What are your thoughts on that? Is the right to picket essential?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I think citizens should have the right to picket peacefully without feeling like they're in a dictatorship. Or anybody is chastising them or victimizing them or whatever,
Yes, and Antigua is a democratic government. We put them people in power, so we
Yeah.
should have the right to picket.
Yeah, everyone should have the right to express
Yes.
their voice and to say what their issues, problems, and concerns are. Even if we don't agree with something
Yes.
someone says, they should have the freedom of speech, and they do have the freedom of speech
Yes.
to express themselves. So I do not think we should marginalize anyone for expressing their views and opinions. And I do believe that by listening to all the views and opinions of everyone in our society, we can come together and see what is the best way for all of us to move forward.
Yes.
So in short, we all agree that everyone expressing their views,
Yes.
picketing, going out, telling the government, telling those who we elected, those who we put in power to serve us,
Yes.
that this is how we expect them to operate in government. And if we agree with them, we say it. If we don't agree with them, we should have the same ability to say it as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're all in agreement with that. Viewers, you can put in your comments on this particular topic as well too and share your thoughts with us. All right, the next thing we'll talk about. The group who organized the picket on August 8th, 2021, they are called the Freedom Fighters. They were picketing on their disagreement with the mandatory vaccination policy. Now, yes, we might not all be anti-vaxxers, quote-unquote anti-vaxxers. Some of us would, be believing in vaccines. That is fine. Some of us are anti-vaxxers. That is fine as well, too. We all have the freedom to agree or disagree. Do you believe that these guys as well, too, even in the times of COVID, should have had the right to express their disagreement with the vaccines?
Yes, of course.
Mm-hmm.
It's their right, their citizen, it's their freedom. They should be able to go there and have a peaceful protest without anybody attacking them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Sister Agard, what do you think about that?
I agree. I wasn't even here. And it was so sad for me to view that on Facebook, on WhatsApp. Like, I'm just speechless. It was such a sad day indeed. And I agree. They do have the right to do that. They do have the right. And they should do it. And they shouldn't feel like they're being targeted for saying they disagree with something.
Yeah.
They're in no nation, no country, no island, nowhere you're going to find everybody agreeing on a topic. And there are going to be some people that will disagree. And they have the right to say so.
Yes.
And do so peacefully.
Okay, so basically what we're saying is that even though we might not agree with the anti-vaxxer movement or people who are not for vaccines, they still have the ability to speak. They're human beings just like the rest of us. They're citizens of this country just like the rest of us. They live in this country like the rest of us. Their voices need to be heard as well too. Again, even if we don't agree with someone, I mean, that's just common sense. That's just how we normally function as a society.
Yep.
We give everyone the ability to express their voice.
Fair
And
chance too.
even in the time of COVID, the anti-vaxxers are no exception as well too. So in light of all this, what we have just said, we agree that everyone should have the right to picket in a democracy, a functioning democracy. We agree that everyone should be able to express their voice, even if we disagree. We agreed on that as well too.
Yes.
Do y'all think the actions of the government were justified by the police officers to tear gas those picketers in the streets?
Nope.
Tear gas. Tear gas. Throw these canisters at our people.
Is that
Nope.
a canister?
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah, this is a tear gas canister. I don't want to play on it too much because we don't know.
Can I see
Is
it?
it
If it's,
full?
I don't want to find out. Let's not find out in the show.
Okay.
But let's not drop this. Let's be
Yeah.
very, very
You don't want
careful.
that to go off in here.
We have to pause the show. All right. So, what were we saying? Do y'all believe the actions of the government were justified? Even
No.
if the government did not agree with the stance of the people, should they have been tear gas?
Nope.
No?
No.
No, they shouldn't. And again, if the protest was peaceful and nothing was done to trigger off the police to tear gas people, they should have been tear gassed in the first place. People should not be chased. Kids, whatever, should not be tear gassed. And I think that's wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, and from what I saw online, there was no sort of rioting. There was no sort of like any like aggression from the picketers. They were so peaceful. And how can you find it in your heart to just throw tear gas at people because they're not agreeing with what you want them to agree with? They want everybody to jump on board, but the moment people want to swim on their own and make that decision for themselves, they're being tear gassed. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Not even throw alone, but running behind the people and pow, just fire off tear gas in people's house. I remember a gentleman calling on a Pacific radio program, and he was so upset. His mom in the house, she can't breathe, they can't get the ambulance. It was a sad scene to know what was going on out there, even though he wasn't there on the ground. You could feel it while you're at home listening.
That is so true. That is so true. Kids going to the hospital getting knocked out. I see people coughing and like everything coming up because that little can showed Antigua last year how much the government care about them.
Yes.
That can right there showed them how much the government cared about them. And I hope they open their eyes.
Didn't the guy got shot as well? And like he saw the video with the guy there.
Yeah, I believe they were fighting rubber bullets as well too.
It was too close.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was too close and penetrated his body.
Wow, that is really sad.
And if he suffers severe damage, did the government handle him the medical bill, whatever? Did they get handled? And even for the young girl as well, who was at the bus station, who couldn't breathe, and she was frothing and all that.
Yeah,
was they look after?
Yeah.
Did the Minister of National Security, whoever, reach out to these people and comfort them for what happened?
And I do believe the Minister for National Security. You don't kill people laugh, but
And it looked like they weren't even trained in like properly to throw that.
No.
You targeted your own people, and then the people that's throwing it getting the same effect that the citizens, the peaceful picketers, again.
Yeah, that can't work. How are the police going to tear gas their own members? That doesn't make sense. Also, before you say something about Jamal, there are people who had nothing to do with this picket. Folks who lived in the area, Gray's Farm, Gray's Green, in that area. This is how we expect them to operate in government, and if we agree with them, we say it. If we don't agree with them, we should have the same ability to say it as well. Okay, so we're all in agreement with that. Viewers, you can put in your comments on this particular topic as well too, and share your thoughts with us. All right, the next thing we'll talk about, the group who organized the picket on August 8th, 2021, they are called the Freedom Fighters. They were picketing on their disagreement with the mandatory vaccination policy. Now, yes, we might not all be anti-vaxxers, quote unquote anti-vaxxers. Some of us would, be believing in vaccines. That is fine. Some of us are anti-vaxxers. That is fine as well too. We all have the freedom to agree or disagree. Do you believe that these guys as well too, even in the times of COVID, should have had the right to express their disagreement with the vaccines?
Yes, of course. Is their right, their citizen, is their freedom. They should be able to go out there and have a peaceful protest without anybody attacking them.
Okay, Sister Agar, what do you think about that?
I agree. I wasn't even here, and it was so sad for me to view that on Facebook, on WhatsApp. Like, I'm just speechless. It was such a sad day indeed. And I agree. They do have the right to do that. They do have the right. And they should do it. And they shouldn't feel like they're being targeted for saying they disagree with something.
Yeah.
They're in no nation, no country, no island, nowhere you're going to find everybody agreeing on a topic. And there are going to be some people that will disagree. And they have the right to say so and do so peacefully. Okay,
so basically what we're saying is that even though we might not agree with the anti-vaxxer movement or people who are not for vaccines, they still have the ability to speak. They're human beings just like the rest of us. They're citizens of this country just like the rest of us. They live in this country like the rest of us. Their voices need to be heard as well too. Again, even if we don't agree with someone, I mean, that's just common sense. That's just how we normally function as a society. We give everyone the ability to express their voice. And
chance too.
Even in the time of COVID, the anti-vaxxers are no exception as well too. So in light of all this, what we have just said, we agree that everyone should have the right to picket in a democracy, a functioning democracy. We agree.
All jokes aside, with your host, Jonathan Wenner.
It's time to join the family at the People's Cooperative Credit Union Limited. We offer savings accounts, deposits, fixed deposits, loans, among other related services. You can even become a shareholder by purchasing a minimum of 50 shares at $5 per share. Membership is super easy and convenient. Just visit our newly opened credit union building on Upper Newgate Street, Monday to Fridays, 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. with proof of ID and address, along with $15 to cover registration and passbook, and you'll be set and on your way. For further information, call 462-8888 or 727-2285. People's Cooperative Credit Union Limited. Today, tomorrow, together.
Our voices matter, our opinions count, our ideas can and will make a difference. The United Progressive Party Progressive Youth present All Jokes Aside, discussing issues and ideas, highlighting problems and putting forward solutions. All jokes aside, there's too much at stake for deafening silence. Let your voices be heard. All jokes aside, with your host, Jonathan Wenner.
Yo.
Welcome back. We're back to our show, All Jokes Aside, here tonight. I'm your host, Jonathan Wenner, and this is my co-host, Chelsea Agard and Jamal Frederick. So we're back here tonight just discussing our first segment, the August 8th, 2021, the Saturday in Antigua's history, where peaceful picketers were tear gassed. Brother Frederick, you were about to make a point in terms of how the police executed their duties. What were you going to say about that?
Yeah, so I think there should be a proper inquiry on this whole tear gassing, and if the protest was deemed not peaceful, or it was peaceful, it justified their actions for tear gassing the people of Antigua and Barbuda, especially those innocent people who was there and those elderly folks as well. Also, the Governor General, we have to look at him as well. What is his role? What power he has? Did he advise the Prime Minister on this whole vaccination stuff?
Especially as a medical professional.
As a medical professional, and with the Minister of National Security, did he reach out to him? Where is he in all this? Because he's a higher power as well. And we're calling on the Governor General to be a part of this inquiry.
Okay, so basically you're saying the tear gas on the picketers does not fit possibly what the government deemed them to be doing wrong. So the picketers weren't doing something so drastic that they needed to be tear gassed.
Because you're hearing on the wayside all kind of stuff about those who were the organizers were being rude and whatever. But we don't see any footage of that. You understand? So with a proper inquiry, we were able to know what really happened. And the good thing is, there's some business places around there that have cameras. And I know that they have to have those footage still, unless they delete them. So they can go back to those footages as well and really get justice for this. Yeah.
Definitely. Folks, just before we end off on this August 8th segment focus, I want to speak about and just clarify certain things. United Progressive Party's stance on vaccines. Now, a lot has been said that the UP is anti-vaccine and they don't support vaccines and whatnot. We want to clarify certain things here. United Progressive Party's stance has always been pro-vaccine, encouraging people to get vaccinated. As a matter of fact, the political leader, Brother Harold Lovell, has worked with the government, the Ministry of Health specifically, to put out a public service announcement encouraging people to go and get vaccinated. So how could you possibly say the United Progressive Party is against vaccines when we have the political leader going out and pushing vaccinations? And even the PRO of the mandate one, every time you went out in COVID, push it that people should get vaccinated.
Yes.
What the party was against was the mandating of individuals to get vaccinated. Now, however, we talk about mandating vaccines, there are just a couple of quick questions that we'll answer as to why the party was against the mandating of vaccines. The first thing is, COVID was a new disease in the world. I know that might sound like common sense, but why does that matter? If COVID is a new disease, folks, the vaccines are going to be new as well too.
Mm-hmm.
The vaccines we get in our community clinics and whatnot, polio, mumps, rubella, even tetanus shots, those have been tried and tested by experts in their fields, scientists, doctors, over decades, and they've been proven to work, and they've proven to have very minimal side effects. COVID vaccines did not get that same privilege of being tried and tested over decades. However, due to the fact of the rapid spread of the disease, some of us decided that, hey, it's best for us to take the vaccine to mitigate the spread. All right? So I don't know what y'all think about the fact that COVID was new and people needed to be educated on the vaccine situation.
Well, in order for people to understand something, you're very correct. You hit the nail on the head right there. You need to educate people about the vaccine, not just the vaccine, on the virus as well. Because a lot of people didn't understand what COVID was at first. First they hear it's just a chest infection, then you hear it's cold, then you hear it's a flu, then you hear it make your joints hurt and all kind of thing. People were very unsure of what COVID was. As you said, it's relatively new. And in order for them to have a vaccine that would work, they would need time to perfect the vaccine. They would need time to test and time to do trials and time to do all of that. And what the government did not do is they did not have like a public seminar or like sending out a video to educate anybody. Like, yeah, we didn't really have that. So I don't think people, they knew much about it. That's why, we had that pushback.
Well, you talk about time. We have to understand that the government didn't offer any sort of stimulus to the people of this country, and they needed to rush this so they can open back up the place so people can make money and look like things are happening. And we're able to have carnival. Yes, I participate in the carnival, I had fun or whatever, but they needed to push that stuff on people so they could own back the country, because the government just couldn't help people who was really in need. And we have to understand that whether it is right or wrong, they just had no other choice.
Yep, and especially, I want to just talk about very quickly, in the age of the internet, we live in the internet age. We all know conspiracy theories spread like wildfire. That was a big part of COVID. I mean, funny, serious, unbelievable. They were conspiracy theories that were rampant. Now, there are people who are very vulnerable. There are people who are not educated on medical topics. That would be the majority of society. People have questions about COVID disease itself, like my two co-hosts have said, and the vaccine. A responsible government, I believe, in my humble opinion, would have gone out on educational campaigns, like Sister Ega would have said, intensive educational campaigns, and pushed the benefits of these vaccines instead of forcing things into people's bodies.
Yes, and people, sorry to cut you, but people don't normally, Antiguans, and I'm Antiguan, I don't like when people tell me I have to do something. And I hate it. You can't just tell people they have to do it because you want to reach a particular status. And to make things look okay. You can't, no, that's not right. You need to educate people. Each one, teach one. If you know what it is, let your people know, and then inform them that there is a way to help prevent our nation from being deprived of our right to,
control our own bodies. Brother Frederick, I just very briefly, quickly on this. The Prime Minister, early on in the pandemic, when the vaccines were rolling out and the questions of mandatory vaccination was being discussed, the Prime Minister, it was found out, took a vaccine that was different from what the public was going to be taking. Now, if you want to build a public trust in our educational campaigns, do you think it was beneficial for the leader of the country and other members of government to be taking American vaccines when the rest of the public had to be forced to take the AstraZeneca vaccines? What are your thoughts on that?
I thought it was unethical. I thought it was wrong. It happened in a South American country, and that minister had to step down. People were protesting, could have got locked up as well. So it was wrong, because people took what we call the VITS vaccine, or and
what you just said?
the VITS, and He took the Rolls Royce.
The Rolls Royce.
Yeah,
Yes.
the
Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah, or the Tesla, one of them high-end vehicles.
like that.
He took that vaccine while we took the lower one.
And he took it in secret.
And he took it in secret, and you said this family brought in whatever. Thank God that the VITS vaccine haven't affected anyone and it's worked out smooth so far.
That we
But
know.
it was still wrong, and I think he owes the people of this country an apology. And he said he took a third.
Yeah. He does a lot of things. However, I want to stress again, nobody is criticizing the Prime Minister for taking American vaccine.
Yeah,
We're criticizing you in the context that he did it. The context that it took place was that there was a push to educate the people on the need for vaccine.
Yep.
If you want to build public trust, it is your
Yep.
responsibility to ensure that you, as a leader of a country, are seen to be leading in what you're pushing. You can't sell a product for someone else and you're not going to take your own product. So if you're pushing something for me to put into my body, I want to at least know that I can trust you, that you are willing to put it into yours. But
Yeah.
once that trust is broken, the public were really upset about that.
hence why they had to protest and they were tear gas for that.
Yeah.
But everything is a learning experience, and hopefully for the next vaccine, because we know we have a next pandemic probably on the rise.
Monkeypox.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's a learning
right.
curve and he takes the same vaccine as the people.
Well, hopefully by that time the United Progressive Party will be
Oh,
the government,
yes.
and Brother
Is,
Harold Lovell
is,
as
is.
Prime Minister is the government,
Is,
and Brother Harold
thank
Lovell
you.
as Prime Minister will act differently. Last thing we'll talk about in this segment here, the United Progressive Party, however, did do their part, even in opposition, to try to educate the people in their series, their virtual series called Tackling COVID, where they had a series of shows with professionals from across the world come together on virtual platforms in the United Progressive Party's social media platforms to discuss how COVID impacted different sectors in our society. So from issues to public and mental health, because you know how people are locked in their houses, money's not coming, their mental health is going to go as well, to including with their bodies. Our education system, people being online, and we won't get into how the e-books failed us during COVID, that's another story. Workers' rights, people who are sent home without
the
pay
pay.
because of the mandatory vaccination, and some of them still haven't gotten their pay.
Yep.
Also, the economy, how we're going to rebound from that. Stimulus has been given to people. Not we're saying give away a whole pie and pizza and soda drink large. We're just saying give something to help people to stay afloat. Not saying they're going to use them hair and nails, but they're going to use it to try to help survive. So that's what we believe responsible governments would do.
And I thought that was a total slap in the face of the ordinary man and woman to say that they're going to waste their money to do hair and nails. Who in their right mind is suffering, have bills to pay, have
Yep.
no food to put on the table, and
Yep.
want to take that money to do nails and hair? That would be a cruel parent to do that. And I don't think the people of Antigua and Barbuda are that cruel to their kids or their family to do such thing.
You see, as a woman, I find that very offensive. Very, very offensive. My mother, she's not wanting to get her nails and hair done, but I've seen women in my community who would normally do that.
Yeah.
They put all that aside.
Yeah.
Not just because they couldn't get to go anywhere,
Yeah.
you know, they didn't need to look pretty and whatever, but because at the time their priority was to make sure that their family survived this pandemic. And to hear your prime minister turn around and make a comment like that, knowing that you're struggling, right? To make a comment like that, and to I'm not going to continue.
Yeah, well, before it doesn't go on for now,
Yeah, I'm not going to
we know
continue.
You know what the people they love to
Yeah.
hear? That my government will be giving $500 million stimulus. They're going to assist those young entrepreneurs who are struggling at the time and still struggling on those who still need the assistance. That's what the people
That's what they
will
want.
look into here.
Yep.
The taxi drivers and so who are suffering. Those in the tourism, the hospitality sector.
yes.
Yeah.
You know? And even fuel subsidy and all that. You know, what we put in place for the poor people of this country, and what is being put in place now for the poor people of this country? What they say, 93 cents off the gas?
Well, yeah, so he said.
Okay.
He said. But folks, we'll be right back with our second segment of All Jokes Aside right after these short messages.
fixed deposits, loans, among other related services. You can even become a shareholder by purchasing a minimum of 50 shares at $5 per share. Membership is super easy and convenient. Just visit our newly opened credit union building on Upper Newgate Street, Monday to Fridays, 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. with proof of ID and address, along with $15 to cover registration and passbook, and you'll be set and on your way. For further information, call 462-8888 or 727-2285. People's Cooperative Credit Union Limited. Today, tomorrow, together.
Our voices matter, our opinions count. Our ideas can and will make a difference. The United Progressive Party Progressive Youth presents All Jokes Aside, discussing issues and ideas, highlighting problems and putting forward solutions. All jokes aside, there's too much at stake for deafening silence. Let your voices be heard. All jokes aside, with your host, Jonathan Wenner.
It's time to join the family at the People's Cooperative Credit Union Limited. We offer savings accounts, deposits, fixed deposits, loans, among other related services. You can even become a shareholder by purchasing a minimum of 50 shares at $5 per share. Membership is super easy and convenient. Just visit our newly opened credit union building on Upper Newgate Street, Monday to Fridays, 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. with proof of ID and address, along with $15 to cover registration and passbook, and you'll be set and on your way. For further information, call 462-8888 or 727-2285. People's Cooperative Credit Union Limited. Today, tomorrow, together.
Jonathan Wenner. Next to me is Chelsea Agard. This is the second segment of our show. To the far left, we have UBP's soon-to-be Minister of Parliament for All Saints West, Brother Anthony Smith Jr. And to my right, we have distinguished. His work has actually been on the sets for all this time. You can see his work behind us there. He's a small business entrepreneur. And his name is Ronald Silonsi. So Ronald, just tell us quickly, about the work that you have hanging up there, where you're based, what you're about.
All right, good night everyone. I'm Ronald Silonsi. The work behind there, These are my work. This is acrylic on board, a painting here of the museum, and over here is Vivi.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah, and I'm currently based in John Hughes right now at the moment, and what I do, I recycle objects and I turn them into artworks.
Oh, so you do sustainable art. So
Yes.
you recycle objects.
Yes.
Well. And these are very, very excellent pieces, works of art, sir. And we can
Thank
all
you.
recognize Sir Viv over there.
Yeah.
Definitely. I must say, I can't say enough how good these works of art are. How long does it
Right.
normally take you to make these?
To make these, it depends. It depends. This one here took me 2 days. Vivi here took me about a week.
Oh, a week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to make sure you got his likeness just right.
Yes, you have to do all that.
Yeah, I can see this hanging up in the stadium or some place, prominent place in Antigua someday, you know? So
Yeah.
honestly, they're really nice pieces of work.
All right, thank
Okay.
you.
I have a quick question. What is the most rewarding thing to you? What's the most beneficial? What's the most thing that gets you up and excited in the morning about owning your own business, doing your own thing to make money? What's the best part about that to you?
Okay, that's a good question. Number one, I'm a person, I don't like to work for people.
Okay.
When you work for people, basically, is like, to me, is like you basically become a slave, right?
Yeah.
And getting up every morning to do a 9 to 5. You have to go to work for somebody else. You have to be on time when the person wants you to be on time. And I'm a person, I'm very different. I like to do my own thing when I feel like, the way I feel like. I don't like people to be telling me what to do. And I believe when you work for people, they basically own you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Understood.
they basically own you. And I like to own my own self, own my own time. And that's the number one reason why I decided to become self-employed.
Okay, no problem. So, Brother Smith, I'll bring you in here. What do you, to you, in your mind, what is the importance of small businesses to Antigua and Barbuda's economy or just to our society as a whole?
I mean, first, I would like to, just trail it. I just wanted to thank the youth arm of the party for the incredible work that you guys are doing.
Thank you very
Keep
much.
it up. Your message is certainly resonating with the people, and I know it's not an easy task, but you're fighting for the soul of your country,
Yep.
right? So we have to fight for what we see in a better Antigua. So keep up the good work. But you were speaking about the importance of business, and I wanted to, there's no greater satisfaction of employment, of running a successful business, running your own business. Nothing beats that. It just gives you a feeling that you can't really explain. But small business and entrepreneurship is going to be a key component in moving our economy forward. If we look at some of the largest economies in the world, let's just for instance use the US.
Yes, yeah.
Small businesses, it creates at least 1.5 million jobs every single year. In the private sector, or it accounts for, let's say, just about 67% of all jobs. So small business development can really get your economy ticking. And from a very young age, I've always been hearing about diversifying our economy. But yet still, we don't really see any great action towards that. And small business development, entrepreneurship, is going to be a key component in us really diversifying our economy and moving it forward.
Okay.
Okay, so Ronald, I have a
Yes.
question for you.
Okay.
Mr. Silencio. For you personally, what are your greatest needs in growing your business? What do you need in order to make sure that your business
Goes on to the next level.
goes on to the next level?
Yeah.
Well, number one, we need more tourists in Antigua because my work basically I'm mass producing for the tourism industry. Secondly, personally for me, I need a place where I can set up an industry. Maybe like you can say like a building that the government is not using, like a warehouse.
Okay, yeah.
And support from the locals and international people, other companies, because what I basically do, like I said before, I recycle objects and I turn them into artwork and souvenirs. So if I can team up with maybe like some international company that probably can buy the product, or maybe even the government of Antigua and Barbuda, they can bring work for me to do and buy the artworks by the dozen, and they can distribute it to the tourists and the hotels and other people.
So basically what you're saying is the network needs to be more connected in order
Yes.
for your business.
In order for my business to grow, yes, the network needs to be more connected. I don't think it's
Networking, okay.
that connected here in Antigua. Right? I think they need to do better than that.
So, Mr. Smith, do you think the culture surrounding small business in Antigua should change? Or should change.
I want to say that's a very good question, and yes.
Okay.
With the culture is something, the business culture is something we really need to work on. In fact, we need to start introducing business to our children, even at the primary school stage. What I would say, let's say for instance, I just use an example. One of the things I would admire from, let's say, the Chinese race, they teach business to their children from a young age.
Yeah.
Yes, they put you through school, you get your education, but your life, business is life, you know, from an early age growing up. So we have to work on that culture here. For me, I'm an entrepreneur, and I think it had to do a lot with my culture growing up. My grandmother was a businesswoman. She had a shop. She invested in livestock. My dad was a businessman. So I saw that culture from a young age, and it inspired me to actually get into business. I was in business while I was in school, while I was in secondary school.
Wow.
You know, so it's a culture that we really need to work on.
Yeah. Ronald, back to you. What is the single most significant thing that is affecting you growing your business, taking it to that next level where you can get direct access to all the things that you said you needed to do? What is the most significant thing affecting you?
Number one, I think, is the lack of help from the government.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can say that. And number two, I think I need the publicity more. I'm not getting the exposure that I need. And as an artist here in Antigua and Barbuda, especially living in Antigua and Barbuda, where the country is not a country that supports local artists, and as an artist, majority of the time, people look down on you as an artist because it's not like you wear a suit and a tie, or you're like a doctor or lawyer or scientist. So they underlook that, right?
Yeah.
So low, as if that you are basically nothing. If the government would like start seeing artists as someone with value, and they will actually, like, you know, pump money into the natural talent and help, you know, the young people, they can reach further.
See, before we continue, that's what we have here. We
Nice.
appreciate you. So that's why we're showing you off. This government here appreciates you.
I mean, this work this is only 2 samples of a fine collection. So we will help to promote small business owners. Brother Anthony Smith, what are the big plans to help to integrate our local artists, our cultural entrepreneurs into our tourism brand, into our tourism industry? What do you be plans to do that?
Well, there's a lot of plans, and I would certainly share some, but I wanted to agree with our young brother here, because he mentioned earlier that we don't have enough tourists, and I want to say that I agree with him completely. I did a survey just, you know, not too long ago, and you can imagine that in our whole country, we have less than 3,500 rooms, right, in the whole country. I have stayed in a single hotel that had over 5,000 rooms. So one hotel with more rooms than our whole country. And if tourism is our main business, we have to treat it that way. Exactly. So we certainly need to improve on the stock of hotel rooms, Airbnbs, things like that. We have to definitely work on that. Yeah. But in regards to young entrepreneurs, one of the other issues that I find that most persons face with getting into business is capital, is getting that funds to really start your business. It's not an easy thing. As my young brother said, as an artist, you know, he's not out there with a 9 to 5 and then you work so hard to get your products off. It could be challenging. But the UPP, we want to invest heavily, as I said, in small business development, and we want to run the YES program for young entrepreneurs. And this is going to be key in raising capital for our young entrepreneurs. We will also offer other services other than just the capital. You'll get mentorship, training, guidance along the way, and we want to introduce business incubators in Antigua, which is also going to be key in helping young entrepreneurs, right? So you have your business and you have that support center that guides you in everything you need, help you in accounting, help you in marketing, and help to graduate your business to becoming a successful business, right? So I mean, there's so much for us to explore in business and help our young, our young Antiguans. And as I said, this work is beautiful. I must say, this artwork,
Yeah, thank you so much.
you're really talented. So we have to push people like you.
All right. Okay, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt you. If tourism is the main industry in Antigua, why is it tourism? Why they're not putting that much effort into tourism?
You see, you need a government that is focused on the people and not focused on themselves. And I think that is where we keep falling behind as a country. Because Antigua and Barbuda, I mean, you're talking, we have, people might say I'm biased to say, but we have like the most beautiful country in the world. Right? You look at Barbuda, for instance. Barbuda is what you would call practically a virgin island. If you see the beaches in Barbuda, I mean, you're just amazed.
Yeah.
Right? So you need a government that cares and have vision and want to see the best for its people. If we were to just talk about when Brother Howard Lovell, our political leader, was tourism minister, we developed leaps and bounds in tourism. He got several hotels built under his watch. The Airbnb stock increase.
Right.
He did wonders. I mean, he even went as far. I remember having a conversation with him not too long ago that I was telling him his innovation with something like romantic rhythms. I mean, if imagine we would have had romantic rhythms running 10, 15 years now. It could have probably been the #1 festival within the Caribbean, right? The #1 concert within the Caribbean. And it was, an innovative idea to bring people to our island. And we must tie our tourism in with our carnival culture, our fetting culture. It's now, that is a whole market of its own. That's you can see what you see in our carnival, our fetting industry, that culture. It's a whole economy in itself. $1 pass here, there, everywhere. You're talking about getting your hair cut, buying clothes. I mean, buying tickets, and if you are looking at it from a promoter standpoint, we're hiring officers, security guards. You're paying for ads on the radio station. You're hiring food vendors.
Yes.
I mean, there's so much that happened, and we need to tie that more into our tourism, as what I was saying.
Yeah. All right. I'll bring it back to you, Ronald.
Yeah.
I want to ask a quick question. When you see the government giving so many concessions to foreign business people like Ida, who pay no taxes basically to the government. They have the ability to sell our passports and they get to keep all that money for themselves. Land is just given to them basically. Western Imperial, and nothing has really come out of that, or Ida itself. How do you feel as a local businessman who's grown up in Antigua, served your country and trying to make a living as a small business entrepreneur and seeing foreign people like the Chinese and so come and get so much of our land concessions? How does that make you feel?
Well, to be honest with you, to me something stupid. It's one of the most stupid things that anyone can ever done, because as a black man, I would think that you would want to look out for your own country and your own people, right? So you're supposed to put your people first. The government will give land and stuff like that to the Chinese and other people who basically are not born here, and which I don't have a problem with that because I'm not racist. But what I'm saying is that shouldn't you be more concerned into bringing up your own people, uplifting your own people first before you uplift somebody else who doesn't really care much about your people? And the Chinese probably one of the richest nation in the world. So you should be investing in your own people and give your own people the opportunity to become successful businessmen rather than to investing in Chinese. If something bad happened to Antigua today or tomorrow, the Chinese just gonna go back on the plane and go back to the country. And the local Antigua and Barbuda, and they're gonna be here struggling. So what I'm saying is that the Chinese can support them their own self because they have the market and they have the money. Your people cannot do it. So my advice is for the government to be focused more on the people here in Antigua than to be giving land to other people. I mean, how much poor people in this country that need a piece of land to build a house that cannot even afford to even pay rent, why don't you give those land to those people for free rather than trying to sell it to the Chinese? And there's a lot of black people here in Antigua and Barbuda who they have a lot of how should I put it? They have a lot of business ideas. The government should be, reaching out to those people and helping them
Exposure.
out. Exactly, give them what they need rather than to sell out the land to the Chinese. I think it's very stupid, and at the same time, I think it's just how should I put it? I think it's just a mindset. Yeah, it's just a mindset that black people just don't like to help their own kind. That's my point of view on it.
Okay. Brother Smith, Ronald had mentioned earlier in terms of what he needs help to grow his business, the accessibility to the tourists and the need for networking amongst the people in this community to get exposure. If UP was to come into power, not if, when United Progressive Party is to come into power, will the United Progressive Party even think about setting up special economic zones for local businessmen where they can have concessions on certain taxes and they can have a community of, say, artists in a warehouse where the artists can go there, the tourist buses can just take them to the art warehouse and all the artists want to take them there and they don't really have to pay much rent and whatnot. It's something that they will look into.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very good question that you ask, because one of the things that we must do is we have to give incentives to locals to get into business, right? As you said, you spoke about other persons getting concessions. I mean, locals need concessions to become successful business owners as well. And it's hard to compete when you're at such a disadvantage. In regards to the networking, yeah, we certainly have to. Building your business is also about networking. So it's key, and it's something that we'll definitely have to sit together and plan, so we can bring good policies to our people and help them in whatever they're doing.
Okay, no problem. All right, folks, viewers, we'll be right back after these short messages.
It's time to join the family at the People's Cooperative Credit Union Limited. We offer savings accounts, deposits, fixed deposits, loans, among other related services. You can even become a shareholder by purchasing a minimum of 50 shares at $5 per share. Membership is super easy and convenient. Just visit our newly opened credit union building on Upper Newgate Street, Monday to Fridays, 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. with proof of ID and address, along with $15 to cover registration and passbook. And you'll be set and on your way. For further information, call 462-8888 or 727-2285. People's Cooperative Credit Union Limited. Today, tomorrow, together.
Voices matter, our opinions count. Our ideas can and will make a difference. The United Progressive Party Progressive Youth present All Jokes Aside, discussing issues and ideas, highlighting problems and putting forward solutions. All jokes aside, there's too much at stake for deafening silence. Let your voices be heard. All jokes aside, with your host, Jonathan Wenner.
Welcome back, viewers, to All Jokes Aside. I'm your host, Jonathan Wenner. My co-host here with me is Chelsea Agar. To my far left is Brother Anthony Smith, the soon-to-be MP for All Saints West. And to my right is a very esteemed artist, local artist here, Ronald Silencio. I have to get it right so people know who to go to buy their wonderful works of art. His artworks, two of his works are up there and they're very beautiful, as you can see. Just before we were going to break, Brother Anthony Smith was just going to speak on the UP's track record of helping small businesses. So, Brother Smith.
So again, we talk about a government that cares about people and an innovative government. And I must say, I must commend the United Progressive Party because in 2006, the United Progressive Party saw the need for an investment authority. And the United Progressive Party should be given the credit for that vision of opening the Antigua and Barbuda Investment Authority, which is set up to help small businesses. I mean, it certainly needs more support, and the United Progressive Party government will give the Antigua and Barbuda Investment Authority more support. And on top of that, in 2007, the UPP also created the Small Business Development Act. You know, again, innovation and seeing the need for helping locals, right? And as we were speaking with our young brother there, when we look to bring incubators into Antigua, that's something that we should certainly look on assessing, right? I mean, like artists, how can incubators work and help young artists like yourself reach into the next level, right? I mean, the United Progressive Party, we are focused on revolutionizing our private sector, all right? We have to get our private sector working in the best way possible. Once we do that, you know, you offer incentives to even large businesses as well, because we have to find ways to create employment, all right? We have to work on reducing the amount of persons working in the government sector, but we can only do that by growing the private sector, right? And the UPP is certainly focused on doing that.
Ronald, last thing I'll ask you for the night. When you see the government agencies or statutory corporations, or you know, just subsidiaries of the government, or even government ministers themselves, like the Prime Minister, getting into areas of industry that compete with private sector people. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but Antigua is a small island. We have to keep that in mind. When the government, big people like government who have millions of dollars, or ministers of parliament have millions of dollars, and they get into farming and they compete with farmers, small business farmers, or they get into other things. Let's say they start to get into art and compete with them. They have more exposure than you do. They have much more money than you do. Do you think that's something the government should be doing, competing with small business owners?
No, I don't think they should be doing that. I think they should be helping the people, right? I mean, let's be fair. I mean, just because they have money, that doesn't mean they can't, you know, start their own business or do what, you know, what they want to do. But if they're gonna do it if they're looking at it from a point of view where all they want to do is compete against the small man to destroy their businesses, I think that's just being selfish. That's my opinion.
Yeah, understandable. All right, folks, this has been a very wonderful discussion with Brother Anthony Smith, a junior here, and my co-host, Sister Chelsea Egan, thank you so much, and Ronald Silencio, and you can see his works of art there up there. But just before we leave, we'll have, you want to take it down, or? Where do we find you again?
Oh, you can find me in John Hughes. I'm operating in John Hughes for the time being, and hopefully I'll be doing some work with Will's Recycling at Cook's Dump.
Oh, okay.
And the idea is for us to team up together so we can make some, so I can use the leftover sheet metal that he has down there and turn them into metal artwork. So
also,
there's a lot of
before you
things.
continue, what's your contact number?
My contact number is 784-8433.
And social media?
Social media on Instagram is at Ronald Arts 268. Facebook is just simply Ronald Arts.
Ronald Arts on Facebook. And you want to say contact number again for those who might have missed it?
784-8433, 734-8433.
And they can find you in John Hughes.
Yes, you can find me in John Hughes.
All right. Yeah. Folks, just before we leave, I have a quick word. There have been some fires recently in the Grace Farm community. We have seen some politicians ducking, hiding, cowering. However, we would say that instead of running and hiding, you should run to the current MP of the Rural West community, Mr. Londell Benjamin, and ask him why it is found it that he should find it appropriate to have no representation of that community. Not because you're not running again doesn't mean you don't represent your people. Also, instead of running, hiding, and ducking and cowering, those people from the other side should also look to make sure that the necessary fire trucks are there, they are up to date, they're fully functional, and they have water. I mean, it's a simple thing for fire trucks to have water. We need the water in the fire trucks. We need proper representation. Rural West is begging for proper representation. That can only come with Brother Richard Lewis coming in the next general election. Folks, it's been a wonderful night. You've been listening to All Jokes Aside. Thank you for my co-host, Brother Jamal Frederick, who's off camera right now, Sister Chelsea Agard, and guest Brother Anthony Smith Jr.
Thank you for having me.
Ronald Silencio.
Silencio.
Everyone have a good night.
All right. Thank you for having me on the show here.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Good night, everyone.
All right.
Cooperative Credit Union Limited. We offer savings accounts, deposits, fixed deposits, loans, among other related services. You can even become a shareholder by purchasing a minimum of 50 shares at $5 per share. Membership is super easy and convenient. Just visit our newly opened credit union building on Upper Newgate Street, Monday to Fridays, 8:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. with proof of ID and address, along with $15 to cover registration and passbook, and you'll be set and on your way. For further information, call 462-8888 or 727-2285. People's Cooperative Credit Union Limited. Today, tomorrow, together.